Good evening. Today is Monday, November 1st, 2010, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Norfolk City Council to order. I will first advise you this is an open meeting, and posted in the corner of the council chambers is the actual Open Meeting Act. I'd ask you to stand if you would. Join us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think you'll continue with roll call.
Boyd.
Here.
Lange.
Here.
Van Dyke.
Here.
Reeder.
Here.
Maroon.
Here.
Brenneman.
Here.
Klaus.
Here.
Saunders. Here.
Under action, I would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as before you tonight.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. If you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
Next would be approval of the full agenda included in your packet.
So move, Your Honor. Second.
Motion with a second to approve the full agenda. Again, please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative.
Under special presentations tonight, first is a proclamation for the month of November 2010 as Read Aloud to a Child Month. Whereas literacy is the fundamental building block of all learning and is essential to the growth and the success of every child in our city, and whereas reading to children enlarges their vocabulary and enhances their listening skills, thereby fostering intellectual growth and a more positive attitude toward reading, and whereas reading to a child is a simple and priceless act that benefits both adult and child, positively contributing to family literacy and strengthening the bond between a parent and a child, and whereas when parents assume the responsibility for children's literacy, making a commitment to reading for 20 minutes a day, children become more healthy, resilient, and inquisitive. And whereas Read Aloud to your child for 20 minutes a day is a nationally recognized program that has been in existence for more than 20 years, and whereas Read Aloud Norfolk, the Norfolk Public Library, Norfolk Area Schools, and other organizations representing parents, teachers, librarians, and concerned citizens advocate for reading aloud to children because it fosters healthy interaction between adults and children, and whereas reading aloud to children will enhance family literacy and the well-being of young people throughout our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sue Fookman, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, by the power vested in me, do hereby proclaim November 2010 as Read Aloud to a Child Month in the City of Norfolk and the surrounding area. And I encourage all parents, teachers, librarians, and all caring adults to read aloud to a child. Mark, are you here to accept this? As always, all your efforts for children is very much appreciated, Mark. Continuously we're seeing that in your Joy group, so thanks for what it is you did. Thanks for being here. Now we'll move right on to Dave and his report from the Elkhorn Valley Economic Development Council. This is a membership plaque that you're here to.
Actually, both
Okay.
present to you the audit for the organization.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
And which is there we go. Thank you. All right. The audit is obviously part of our process that we go through by accepting the public funds, and so that I believe meets the I won't say rules, but the
You know what, Dave? If somebody on this end has a question, you'll be the first to know, I promise you. So we'll hand it over. And
I was going to say, if anybody does have any questions, and if you'd like more copies, I do have more copies as well. I only brought one in, but I'd be glad to answer any questions anybody have. We had a very good report, so.
good.
All right. And then the next thing I would like to do is present to all of you and to the city for the support that you guys all give, the community gives to Elkhorn Valley Economic Development Council. This plaque of recognition and membership to the organization. I could have.
Dale?
Yeah. There you go. Thank you. You bet. Thank you. We could not do what we do without the support that you all provide, and I like to feel that what we're doing in our offices is making a difference in the community. And at any time, my doors are always open to anybody, but especially to you all. If you have questions, if you have constituents that are asking you questions, please feel free to come to me. I'll give you an answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll get the answer and give it to you. But I do appreciate all of your support, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave, for the effort you do, and it looks to me like there's place for a further attachment on the bottom of that, right? So, that is right. All right. Okay. Well, again, thanks for what you do for us. All right, and then we'll go to the regular agenda, where what's before us tonight is ordinance number 5142, which...
We don't have a snow report.
Oh, Jim Cook, I'm sorry. You want to come forward with that? See, I was trying to do exactly what you guys asked for down there, and bypass it.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. I was told to make it short. That would have been real short.
My understanding is, Jim, there's no need for one this year. No snow this year, right?
We won't have any snow.
All right.
Normally, I read the agenda package. I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to tell you a couple changes we've made. They're minor. They're major to me, but they're minor to the entire plan. We added another brine truck. 3 years ago, we had one. It was Gravity. The next year, we added a second brine truck that made 2 and 4 granular sanders. Then we went to 3 granular. By the way, we're the only city of our class that still uses gravel on our streets. They've all gone to liquid. So when I started 33 years ago, we put down pure salt. I came in and changed that and put down about 75% gravel. And we make a big turnaround. We're back to salt. And so we will now have 4 sanders with salt and 2 granular. And the way we divide it is use 13th Street and Norfolk Avenue, and the northwest section has a sander, the northeast, the southeast, and the southwest. Then the granulars, that's the liquid. The granulars, one will be west of 13th and one east of 13th. And that's how we cover the critical sanding areas. That's the one change. The other change is we've been buying brine, prepared salt water, from the state since we started 3 years ago. We bought our own brine maker, and we haven't quite been in production yet. We got to get the water hooked up to it. But if you'll come down and see us Friday, you get to watch us make some brine, I hope. Looking forward to that at least. That's the 2 changes we've made. Other than that, get a chance to read the agenda if you haven't already. Any questions you might have, I'll try and answer them.
Okay. Council, any questions?
Jim, how many liquid did you say we have?
We'll have 4. We will have 4 trucks out there with the liquid. And they are under pressure, too. They're pumped, rather than gravity.
Jim, would you go over the snow emergency rules just one time, because that seems to be every year where we have a problem and how
Sure.
it snows, so that people are
I would like the
reminded of
chief
that?
to come in and help me on that, too, a little bit.
Okay.
We did change the ordinance this year. On the snow emergency, it's a difficult task to decide when to call the snow emergency. It's really based on a forecast. If the Weather Service says it's coming in, and they call, once in a while they even call me personally, and we make a judgment, I'll call the administrator, or I'll call around and find out, what do you think? Should we call it or not? Because we involve a lot of people. All the police are involved. It's a difficult task once we call it. We get criticized for calling it, we get criticized for not calling it. Maybe we should call it more often. We average about 2 to 3 a year. We've even called up to 5 and 6. But it is a difficult task. But once we do call it this year, I'd like the chief to address that just a little bit.
Thank you, Jim. We are are going to take a little different approach this year when it comes to actual violations in town. When we've had snow emergencies declared in the past, once the emergency goes into effect and the snow plows go out, our officers have gone out and looked for violations, and when we've identified those that are parked on the wrong side, on the odd side of the street, we have marked them to be towed. We have found that we have so many violations, we just don't have enough records in town to be able to get them all. So what we did is we're taking a two-pronged approach. We recommended to the elected officials that they raise the price of the snow emergency parking violation from $25 to $50. That was done in September and will be in effect for our first snow emergency. We will do our best to make sure that we identify every violation, and we're going to put a ticket on every violation that we find. We will not tow vehicles unless they are deemed to be a public safety matter, whether the snow removal folks with the blades tell us that there's a vehicle that's blocking their way or they can't get through, we'll see about towing that. Or if an officer finds one that actually is a public safety issue and we need to get it out of the way just for safety's sake, we'll tow those. Otherwise, we're just going to try to put down the citation on them. And we hope that people will pay attention to the weather, will monitor the local newscasts, and will take an active role in avoiding getting the citations. After every snow emergency, I know I'm approached, the city attorney's approached, I'm sure council officials are approached about, this isn't fair, I shouldn't have got a ticket, I want my ticket dismissed and that. And I will tell you the best way to handle the citation is before you get it. If you will just watch the weather when you see it clouding up, pay attention to the forecast, listen to your local radio stations, listen to Cable One. We have emergency broadcasts that go over Cable One on the local channels that will let you know that there's been a snow emergency declared. We will also put a notice on the city's website and the police division website. If you've got any questions, you can check there. And you can find out if a snow emergency has been declared. If you are a Twitterer, then you can go to the city's Twitter site. You can sign up on the city's to follow the city, and you'll receive a notification on Twitter letting you know that a snow emergency has been declared. We also have a site called Nixle.com that you can go to the city of Norfolk, and there is a site there that has information out. We will be putting it on that site as well. We're trying to do everything we can to let people know that an emergency has been declared, but we can't do anything unless we have citizens who are going to pay attention, be involved, and actually take steps to avoid getting the ticket. We don't take any pleasure in giving out those tickets, not at all. We just assume that there weren't violations because we could spend our time doing other things. But we are going to be looking for them. We hope we don't find any, or many, but if we do, we plan to put a ticket on it. It's going to be $50, and I'm sure everybody can use that $50 someplace else. We just assume that you did. So that's how you can avoid it, and be sure to park on the even side of the street. It'll allow, people sometimes ask, why do we do this? And the biggest reason is we want to make sure that those street maintainers, when they go out, they've got a clear side of the street that they can blade that snow up off of the street and out of the way. When vehicles remain parked there, the snow, they have to go around the vehicle, it gets thrown up on the vehicle. The owners then have to dig out their vehicles besides paying the parking ticket. But then when it's done, that snow stays out there and it begins to get packed down, which then turns to ice, and it makes it difficult for people driving through the street there. So if everybody will just work together, we can keep our streets pretty clean. We can reduce some of the hazards that will result from that, and we can save you some money on top of that. So it looks like a win-win to me. Any questions anybody might have?
Where does the fine dollars go?
Well, the fine money goes to the public school. So those folks who think that we're out trying to make a buck, it doesn't matter how many tickets we write, the city doesn't get that fine money. It all goes to the school district.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other questions? Any? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. You bet. Dave, does that answer your question? Or?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions at all, Council?
not so much a question as, Jim, I think the information in here said we start out on Operation 1.
Number 1.
This year.
Yes.
So we've rotated on around.
Yes.
I think a couple other things, because it's available online that way, I believe. And
Everything's online.
sheet's showing me that it's 78
Yeah.
through, 78 and 79 have questions that I hear commonly all the time, talking about why the city throws snow up on my sidewalks and all that. They don't intentionally. I don't think so anyway.
Correct.
And the other interesting item in there, in the city packet agenda one, is sheet 91 shows the amount of money that we spent last year on snow and ice removal, and we're just short of $300,000.
294,256.
And that's like double dang near, except for 2000 through 2001. So it's not like it wasn't expensive, but it was $5,000 an inch. So we want like
Wow.
2 inches this year, maybe?
That would be fine.
Yeah.
One time.
One time. Thank you.
Any others? at all?
You.
Hey, Jim, the only question I would have is, how do you determine, those mornings that, for whatever reason, we have the frost that's causing, or maybe it's, I don't know, snow that causes the intersections, to be a real concern, and you get out and sometimes just hit those? Just a decision that's based on...
Weather forecast, really. Right now, we're anticipating going out and treating the bridges. We do what we call pre-wetting. You put this liquid salt down prior to, and it's a guess. What if you put it down and nothing gets here, no precipitation? It has a residual effect of 5 days. If we put it down today, 5 days later, moisture, it'll work. So that's the window we're working with, and it is real difficult to judge, but we will try and go out and get the bridges and the critical salting locations on a pre-wetting basis. Then, the bad part, you get a solid inch of ice and it beats you, you don't get out there and get it. Takes a lot more to go down through the ice. But even if it's down there, we will still treat it.
Very good. Well, again, appreciate all you do and hope for a better year this year,
Do
Jim.
the best job we can. I got great people on my staff.
Yes, you do. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Dennis just wants to put one cautionary note in there. We all think this liquid salt is great. I'm not sure what kind of a number it's going to do to our streets long-term. I know the states have been using it out on the highways, but it's a little bit different situation in town. They've got a crown where they're running that off to the edge, the excess, and that's where they're plowing the snow. We just plow it over and put it on the terrace, and it comes back into our gutter lines and those types of things. So,
To be the devil's advocate, the city of Kearney in 1992 surveyed their downtown, and their storm sewers were plugged almost to the top. They had to have a company come in and clean all their storm sewers. That's why in 1992, they quit putting down a drop of gravel and they went pure salt. So it's both ways. I agree with Dennis totally. Why would I come on board years ago and eliminate salt? Because I believed in that. I don't believe I should be the only person out here with 6 gravel trucks when the rest of the nation has liquid salt. So I had no choice. I had to go with, we attend National Snow Conference and meetings, and we had to go that way. I agree with Dennis. It's supposedly cars don't rust anymore, but believe you me, metal does rust. And I agree that the streets will probably take its toll, but not only in Norfolk, every other place also.
And Jim, that's driven by the stormwater program, right?
Oh, there's no question about it. They want to keep things out of the stormwater, and definitely we're not supposed to use gravel to go down in the stormwater. Oh yeah, there's no question about that. It's driven by the stormwater regulations. Yes.
Okay.
until they start regulating salt.
Both ways. It's a 50-50 deal.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, now we'll jump to the regular agenda where ordinance number 5142, business of Scrap Mark at 507 North First, adding it to the list of private properties eligible for police enforcement, was passed on first reading. I would look for a motion to approve on second reading.
Your Honor, I would move consideration of ordinance number 5142 on the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If If not, short title, Beth.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to amend Section 24-293 of the official city code to add an address for enforcement action related to driving or turning on public or private property, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, and if you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5142 carries on second reading.
Your Honor, I would move we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5142 on third reading.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and move to third reading. Any discussion? If not, if you will please vote.
All councilpersons voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5142 carries on third reading.
Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.
There you have it.
Everybody?
I wish we could figure out how to do
You know what?
downtown, they come in there early in the morning, they get all the downtown streets perfect, then everybody comes and shovels their driveway, or sidewalks, and pushes them back on the street again. Yeah. But I suppose you can't expect those guys to get down there at 2 in the morning and shovel their sidewalk. I don't know what the answer is.
If they did it before they came, because all that snow's removed out of the area.
Yeah, so if they get
They
those
ain't got
sidewalks.
that much time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it.
I mean, they would if they had more equipment and more manpower, but then it also comes back to,
Here.
But I mean, if the merchants get down there, push it out in the street, then that would be no.
yeah, but they, they're not, because so many of the, it's easier if the merchant has got somebody hired, because then he calls up whoever, and then when they hire them, and say, hey, you gotta have this done by da-da-da-da-da-da. But
But
I'll bet you, if you go down Norfolk Avenue, the sidewalks are probably 60 to 70% of the spaces are done by the employees on the end, and they just said, hey, you pissed me off this last week, you're stupid.
And it's even more of a challenge with the new
Yeah, I was going to say, if it was nice and level,
before
you had
it
a
was 8 foot
10-inch
wide.
blade or something on a tractor, you could push it out there pretty quick.
I mean, when you really look at the number of times,
Gentlemen.
there aren't that.
Last year was kind of bad year again. I was thinking, I think in 77 and 78, no, 76, 77 winter, we had a foreign exchange student here, and I think we only got, I don't think we ever had a snow that was more than 3 inches, and I think we only got about 2 or 3 all winter long, because she was waiting for a big snowstorm.
Yeah, that had to have been 76, 77, 78, it snowed like the dickens.
I think it was 76.
He set it down in here
I think
for
graduated in 77, and I know we kept saying, oh, we'll get a storm, we'll get a
I'm
storm.
going to resign at my next meeting there, and I'm going to resign like the day before I get installed here, and then it's all legal. Yeah. But I'm going to tell them that in I wouldn't do that to you. You're probably the only reason I'm staying here. No, I didn't, Vicky.
That's it. That's what it is.